Hello and welcome to another interview, another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show where we talk about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is bigger than us, to the big mystery, the great beyond the veil, seeing behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz, and opening it, seeing the one behind there working all the dials. And we love to share our stories of connection with that big mystery and those mystical experiences that we can have, conversations with God, and so forth. So I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird. This is my sweet spot. I love these conversations. They call me the door opener. So I like to open the door for people to discover themselves, and then I love to witness it. And I do this whether we're on the broadcast here or if I'm in my groups. If you are interested in Butterfly Circle, we do that there too. It's not so much about teaching exactly. It's more about practicing and sharing and being in community with each other, because we're all one and we're all equal and we're all so completely diverse and different. So it's so exciting to see all the reflections of the divine together. So if that interests you, check out my website, carriehummingbird.com, Kerri, hummingbird.com. And in the meantime, today's guest, we're going to have a beautiful discussion. I have her book on my desk here. I've been reading it. I so resonate with the messages that she's sharing. Dr. Tammi Baliszewski. Welcome, Tammi, to be with us.
Mary. Thank you. I'm so honored to be with you and all of our friends. It's very exciting.
I'm so can I call you Dr. Tammi or Tammi? What do you prefer for the interview?
You want. Any of those are fine.
Okay, great. Well, Tammi is the best-selling author of Manifesting Prosperity from the Inside Out and Manifesting Love from the Inside Out. That's the only place it comes from, so I love that. She has helped thousands of people clear the blocks to their heart's desires. Her heart-based comprehensive approach, along with a blend of spiritual and psychological principles, provides accessible tools that support readers and clients to manifest fulfilling lives of purpose, passion, and prosperity. And boy, I love all of that. And I was just saying before the broadcast to you, Tammi, that I've been reading your book and feeling so resonant with the things that you're saying. And we're going to dive into some of those conversations today, I know. But before we get started, let's just kick it off. I would love to hear your story of your own awakening to the divine around you, to in you, and to that message that you can now hear, that you are able to converse with God and have these messages. What did that look like for you? How did it get started?
Well, it happened in layers, as it often does for people. And I think as a common universal theme of awakening, it came through great pain. I manifested what my human self wanted, what my personality, what my ego wanted when I moved to Los Angeles and got engaged to a very well-known actor, very well-respected actor. And I was on track to, and it was exactly what I wanted my life to be like and look like. I was astonished that I'd manifested this. And it was a lot of fun for a while. And then it started not being fun. And then it started being painful. And then it started being utter anguish. And I kept trying to make this relationship work and kept trying to make this relationship work. And finally, it got to the point where I literally thought I was going to die. I was very, very sick physically. I was very, very depressed. I was on some different anti-anxiety meds trying to just figure out how to be okay. And I wasn't. So I finally had this conversation with God. We were supposed to be getting married, and I was supposed to be calling the wedding coordinator, and I just felt that pit in my stomach. And I was like, why can't I just be happy? And I think it was the first time I really heard what I know now to be my higher self, the Wizard of Oz, spirit, the universe speaking to me. And I heard this message very clearly. If you marry this man, you'll miss the man I've sanctified for you. And that stopped me dead in my tracks. Like, what? There's a man that God has sanctified for me? I don't even know what that word means. I've never uttered it. I've never said it. I went and looked it up. It meant to be blessed by God. It means to be blessed by God. And I was like, wow, there's a man that's been blessed by God for me, and this isn't it. So I finally just said, okay, I surrender. God, if I have to give this relationship up for me to know me and me to know you, I give up, because I can't keep doing what I'm doing. And a week later, this man met another woman, and they were off to live their adventure. And I was kind of left in the dust, and not only sick now, but very broke, because he cut me off financially and basically, you're on your own, kicked me out of the nest. And it was It was me and God after that. All my friends left. Nobody wanted to talk to me because I was such an Eeyore. I was such a pain. I was not fun. I was a complete victim in my mind, completely powerless. And I wanted everybody to feel sorry for me. So in other words, highly unpleasant. I was a highly unpleasant human being. So it was me and God. And that's actually pretty great company. So that's when I started having those real authentic conversations with spirit and just started the meditation and the praying. And I was guided on a path because my intention was to be guided by God. And it was like each next step revealed each next step. And I started coming out of the fog little by little by little by little. And by no means was this fun. By no means was my ego or personality or human self happy about this, because I went from red carpets and private jets and personal shoppers to going to massage school. Believe me, that was not fun. My ego was devastated, but my soul celebrated. So yeah, that's the long and short of it.
Beautiful. Well, I can resonate with so many things that you said in your book, Manifesting Love. I was reading it this past few days, just kind of checking out and going in and saying, okay, what's Tammy's story? Where is she from? And jumping through hoops for crumbs, working hard for approval and never receiving it, being objectified, lying in deceit, betrayal, abandonment, talking about how we are experiencing, when we're experiencing these kinds of dynamics in our relationships, that it's really about something else that's going on. You want to tell us more about that? Like, what's it really about?
What's it really, really about? It's reflecting aspects of ourselves back to us that maybe we're not aware of, that maybe be buried, perhaps it's buried in the subconscious realms very deeply, possibly. It could be because of programming we received when we were children. It could also be even deeper than that, in that we had karmic contracts to experience or agreements to participate in our lives. But the very, very, very bottom line is, despite where the programming came from, is that we manifest relationships that are reflections of our deep-seated beliefs. So if, say, for instance, we're jumping through hoops for crumbs. It means we're working hard, we're giving all we've got, and we're getting very little in return. It's on some level because we don't believe we are worthy. We are not worthy. So there's an imbalance between the giving and receiving. I saw this pattern a lot in my life. I gave a lot and I didn't get a lot in return. I was engaged to a multi-millionaire for 3 years, and I left that relationship with less than I had going in. I'm like, how does that happen? I manifested what I believed I deserved, which was not very much, maybe nothing. So when we are out of balance inside of ourselves, we attract other people that are out of balance in a way that fits for us. What we need to do is find our authentic shape. We need to claim our value and worth. We need to be able to give generously and receive graciously. And the only way we can receive graciously is to know we are valuable, to know we are worthy, to know we are important. And that was my work. And it wasn't easy. But once I started opening my mind to this and had this deeper understanding, my intention became to learn to receive graciously. And that meant anytime, any kindness, goodness, be it money, a compliment, somebody offering to buy me a cup of coffee or lunch, to be able to stop, take a breath, be present, and receive. Even if I'm twitching, even if I'm like
twitching
and
like, no, I can't.
Grow up. I have to settle in myself, breathe, and receive. And it was uncomfortable. But the more I've learned to do that, the more I've received. I think we all have an inner container for how good we can stand things to get, be it in relationships, be it with money. So our work becomes learning how to expand that inner container. And I think most of humanity is going around with a tablespoon inside of themselves and wanting a swimming pool or a pond or a lake or the ocean. And they're mad because other people have a pond, a lake, a swimming pool, or an ocean, and they only have a teaspoon. And it's not fair. And we need to divide the assets equally. And it's, it's like, there's enough for everyone. Everyone could have a swimming pool. Everyone can have a lake. Everyone can have the ocean, but it's inner work. It's knowing our value, not trying to prove our value, not trying to do to get something in return. It's about the quality of beingness and knowing our immense value despite anything external, despite any of our doingness, to know that we are the children in whom God is well pleased, to know and deeply accept and deeply believe that we are divine heirs to the universe.
Yeah, divine heirs to the universe. Woo! Yeah, it is about trust too, I think.
Trust, faith.
I think it's about opening the door and being willing to receive from another person, because sometimes when you were up in a, with somebody who's maybe still learning how to be a giving, generous person, maybe have some wounds of their own, right? A lot of our parents had wounds of their own, right? They had their own wounds. Then sometimes the love is conditional. Sometimes the things you receive could be taken away as punishment later.
Yes.
So sometimes it's kind of like you might develop a habit of not wanting to receive because of not wanting to be vulnerable to having it be taken away again.
Not wanting to get your hopes up.
Not wanting to get your hopes up, not wanting to, get trusting and then be surprised again by
rug pulled out from under you or the other shoe dropping.
Yeah, because of the unpredictability of the person that you're involved with that hasn't maybe gotten to the place of being stable within themselves.
Yes. Yes.
And so we have a lot of parents like that in the world.
Absolutely. So. And they were the perfect teachers for us, despite what it might look like. And the work becomes learning how to be stable within ourselves, despite our history, but having compassion for our history, having compassion for our personal stories, having compassion for our parents' personal stories. And then, the saying, the sins of the father paid down. The sins of the parents are handed. I see it like we're running a marathon, and you know how they hand the baton off? So the baton was handed off to me, but somewhere along the line, either unconsciously or eventually consciously, I said, the buck stops here. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to take responsibility for the healing, which goes backwards, forwards, up and down. Anytime we take responsibility for any healing in our particular reality, it heals, I believe, all of humanity. It heals the world. It heals our personal lineage, but it goes even beyond that. So to take responsibility for our healing work and learn to love ourselves no matter what, I think is absolutely the most important thing any of us can do.
It's hard to do because how much it's backlog there is. Like,
there's a lot of backlog.
Let's see. There's a lot of backlog. Yeah. So, when you decide to be that person, that's like the buck stops here. And then you open that door. And I remember my mom saying that she was, I'm changing these patterns. Buck stops here. She said the same thing. So, but like it didn't stop there. Still got a bucket load of it, right? And then I said, oh, the buck stops here, right? And then I look at my sons and they're like, no, it didn't really stop because they still have their stuff. But we tried, we tried, at least we committed, and I know a lot of people that don't even go in this space of looking and personal inquiry. So the reason I think they don't is because of this experience I'm sharing is like you open the door and you're like, okay, and then it's like the closet where everything falls out onto you, like,
I do know. I think our friends know. Oh yeah, the closet. Shouldn't have opened that door.
It's everywhere, and you're steeped in it. Like, oh man,
so much better before I opened that door.
It kind of reminds me of The Matrix, that movie, The Matrix. I love because it's so accurate to what's going on, and where he says, just put me back in. I don't even want to know it's not a steak. I don't care anymore. Just put me back to sleep so I don't have to know all this.
Yeah, it's hard. But you know what? I think we're going to do it now. We're going to do it later. It's going to be done. So is it now or is it later? We can say, I'm going to do that my next lifetime or the next or 1,000 lifetimes. I'm not dealing with it now. And that's legitimate. I'm sure I've done that for thousands of lifetimes, But finally it got so painful that I was like, it's sort of like what I see. And I write about this in my book. It's like opening the Pandora's box. Opening the Pandora's box. And I call it worms, bats, and stinky stuff.
Stinky
The
stuff.
closet. It's stinky.
Just
It's not
covered
fun.
in it.
It's not pleasant. It's worms, bats, and stinky stuff. And it's like you get through it little by little by little. And I think it's important to stay diligent and consistent with our intentions. But I think if we're willing to keep showing up on our behalf and learning to love ourselves and apply love and compassion to the places inside that hurt and keep going for God, eventually inside of every single one of us is the hope diamond.
Mm.
But it takes some work to get there.
Yeah, the diamond.
The diamond. We all have a priceless jewel at the very center of ourself. Every single one of us, without exception. If you're breathing, you have a priceless jewel within you. You are a priceless jewel. There's just stuff on it, worms and bats and debris from the closet. And it's a matter of just clearing that little by little, layer by layer, until finally we're settled in that place of our treasure, our gem, our light. But
And
it's
when
no joke getting there. It's no
it's well, because when another metaphor I like to use for this, because right now we are in the middle of like a collective closet clearing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yes, collective
Really,
closet clearing. That's
really
what's happening.
uncomfortable. So it creates sort of like in LA, there's all that smog. Like that smog layer is like hovering around the planet all around us, and we're like just walking around in this smog like of human stuff that has to be reviewed and
Absolutely.
seen and felt, and so you're saturated by it. You're just, everybody's saturated by it. You can't not be saturated by it right now. You can do lots of practices to clean and clear and get centered again and get connected back to God and get grounded on the earth, and you can use practices, but nobody's immune like from it
Right.
right now on the
And I
planet.
love this analogy that you're speaking of. The vision that came into my mind's eye is that we live on a planet of duality, and it's sort of like free will and choice. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and we're beneath a cloud line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So beneath this cloud line is the illusion of good, bad, right, wrong, this, that, black, white, left, right, all those things, right? And in order to transcend this reality of duality, we need to take personal responsibility for our individual consciousness. And I did find it interesting that as the COVID thing happened, the smog lifted because people weren't out doing. They had to simply go inside and be, and things cleared.
Yeah.
And so as we take personal responsibility for our own internal clearing, we ascend in our consciousness. We literally vibrate higher. David Hawkins talks about this work in Power versus Force, and one of my favorite books, Letting Go, the Pathwork of Surrender, clearing and healing and going to higher and higher levels of consciousness. It's sort of like a lot of people on planet Earth are in the high-rise building and they're only in the first and second floor. Third floor is politics. Fourth floor is science. Fifth floor is love. Sixth floor is peace. Seventh floor is enlightenment. 8th, 9th, 10th penthouse that's all enlightenment. The higher we go, the clearer things get. We start to get above the cloud line and we can see beneath us. It's sort of like if we're taking off in a jet and we're going through the cloud line. There's a lot of turbulence. There's a lot of discomfort. There can be a lot of fear. Drinks are flying. People are screaming. It's not easy. It's not fun to go through the turbulence, right? But once we get to the other side, once we get above the cloud line, the skies are blue. The sun is out. It's a beautiful, magical, peaceful place to be. So I feel like I've done the work to get above the cloud line. It's a beautiful life. It's a peaceful life. It's a blue sky, rainbow, magical butterfly, unicorn life. But I see a lot of people screaming and crying and arguing and fighting about what's going on beneath the cloud line. I've dipped down on occasion to try to lift them up. But what I have learned is you can't really do anybody's work for them. The best thing we can do is be the living example and hopefully inspire and encourage other people to do their own inner work. And that's why I create the guided meditations. That's why I've written the books. That's why I do the interviews. That's why I do Facebook Live. That's why I do the radio show, just to disperse the tools and information for people who are ready. Because I think you'll relate, Carrie. I put a lot into people that said they wanted to heal and ascend. I've unzipped myself, turned myself inside out, poured myself out, and they haven't changed one iota. Or they're mad at me. But then there's been people who've been really ripe, who really wanted and were ready and were sincere in their intentions to go higher. You gift them a book or a guided meditation, or you just have one conversation with them. And a year later you run into them. It's like, their lives have been transformed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, Tammy, thank you so much. I'm like, what'd I do? But the seed was planted when the field was ripe, when the dirt was there and it had been tilled and they were really, really ready. So I find my work is very simple for the people that are sincerely ready. And then what I do these days is I give them a couple of exercises, or I give them one tool. I don't try to feed them a whole cake anymore. I give them a bite. And if they eat that, I give them another bite. And if they eat that, I'll give them another bite. But I used to try to give them a whole cake and then would feel like, oh my gosh, I guess my techniques don't work. They work. That's what I heard God say. Just be the living example of the principles. Let your life be the living example. Don't worry about teaching anyone anything. Don't worry about rescuing or fixing or healing. I have a big healer caretaker archetype. I was a people pleaser and I overextended myself a lot because I have a sincere intention to ease suffering. But I found that I wasn't very effective. The most important thing I could do is heal my own hurts and live my blue sky life, and then really be the living example. And a lot of people will say, it's not fair, or they're jealous. I'm like, I will tell you everything. I will give you lots of free stuff to help you. But people are where they are in their consciousness. You know, as a master's spirit on planet Earth, we can't make a second grader or a junior high student or a high school student get anything. And it doesn't make us better or worse. It just means we're all where we are, and we've all been there, you know? So
Yeah,
it's just
well,
a
we've
different
all been there.
compassion. We've all been there.
And we put the thing out to try to wake people up, you know, like, hey, here's this, you know, like, got this download. Whoop,
And
here's
it's
sharing with the
life is
collective.
a buffet. Life is a big buffet. Take what you want. Don't take what you don't want. You can argue with it because it's on the buffet table, but it's better just to focus on what you want. And then my intention is just to put the things out that have worked for me on a silver platter, make it very invitational. But I don't need to sell myself. I don't want to market myself. I just want to live my amazing life and make what's worked for me available for others. And it'll resonate for some people and it won't resonate for others. And that's okay. We're here to be individual and unique and interesting and different. And it's all okay. It's
Yeah,
perfect. It's great.
well, it's a perfect setup. And I've also been exploring this idea on myself too, because I will get, I notice that I get placed exactly where I need to be. So whatever conversation I need to be engaging with, then all of a sudden I'm in that conversation. And then I might look back and go, well, how come I'm in that conversation and what's going on? And then I'll look at my human design chart and I'll go, oh, yeah, well, okay, that's what I'm here for, you know? So I look and put wherever I'm supposed to be if I want to be there or
Whatever's in
not.
front of you. Trust whatever's in front of you. When I was really complaining,
Yeah.
God, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? Expecting, I don't know what I was expecting. Something to fall on my head, or the clouds to part, or angels to sing. And
Yeah,
I heard
something like that would be great.
something like that. Wouldn't that be nice? Make it clear. What's my purpose? And when I heard
Have the
very
angels come
clearly,
down and sing it, you know?
well, I'm asking very specifically. I want to know what my purpose is. And then the still small voice said to me, just love the one in front of you. Just be where you are and be in your loving with whoever's in front of you, with whatever's going on, with whatever you're doing. Just live from your open heart. So it's like what you're saying, Carrie. It's like I find myself in the perfect situation with the perfect people, the perfect opportunities, always, always, always. I live a life of really profound grace. And it's pretty miraculous. It's pretty remarkable. And I'm grateful for all the pain and the suffering and the stumbling blocks and the hot rock path stepping stones that have got me to this place. And I don't think there are any shortcuts. I mean, we can claim sincere intentions and do the inner work, but I don't think there's actually really any shortcuts. There's no way from going to high school to PhD. You know, you've got to take the steps. So I'm
And it's
grateful.
hard work. It's
It is.
spiritual
It is
practice.
until it isn't. You know, my teachers would say we learn through pain and suffering until we learn how to learn through grace and ease and joy. And I feel like the teeter-totters flipped over for me, and I'm living a life of a lot of grace and ease and joy. But I also like this saying, God throws pebbles, stones, bricks, and you get a brick wall. I have a lot of brick walls. And I'm very clear, I don't want any more. So now I start every single day meditating and devoting myself to spirit. I have a little process I do every single morning, and I'm listening, and I'm listening, and I'm listening. And then sometimes when something comes up that's a little uncomfortable, I'm like, was that a pebble? Was that a pebble? And I sit my happy butt down and I talk and I listen and I meditate and I pray. And I think I've probably avoided some bricks and brick walls because I'm really paying attention and I'm staying very centered and grounded and devoted and aligned. And I think that that's why my life is more graceful and easy and joyful these days, because I'm not running off the leash trying to do my own thing. I'm not relying on my own understanding anymore. My sincere intention is to be aligned with spirit and be a channel for grace and joy and fun and beauty and laughter and whimsy and wisdom in the world. And I feel like it takes a long time for each of us to dial ourselves in, which is the most important thing we do, is find our authentic shape, dial ourselves in. We don't have to worry about anyone else. All we have to do is take responsibility for ourselves. But once we do, once we find our authentic shape, what and who fits with us naturally and easily tends to show up with a lot of grace and ease. And it's a wonderful way to live. I'm so grateful I finally dialed myself in.
That dialing in process is pretty interesting because there is not a one size fits all, even
That's so
among
right.
people who I would say are light workers. There is not a one size fits all.
Right.
Some of us, and I would count myself in this category, feel like I'm to be a bridge between, like I understand that there are angels, like seraphim angels, or people that actually get sent by Archangel Michael down to earth, and they don't leave until everybody's, they
Yeah.
stay with the people until everybody gets on board.
Bodhisattvas? Is that bodhisattvas? They've made
Yeah,
it
maybe,
until
yeah.
every soul comes home.
Until every soul comes home.
I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not making that commitment.
That's me.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Until every soul comes home. That's me.
Oh man.
So I find myself in the fray. I find
I can
myself
see where you would. You
like
would be
in the
right.
middle of the stuff going, okay, like what's going on with the people? What's happening with everybody? Where are they now? Because I'm committed to this. Like I know I am. I always get pulled into the fray. I always get pulled right into the
God bless
conflict.
you. I have
And
so
I'm
much
like,
respect
why
for you.
am
God
I
bless you.
in this? So then I see other people who are not, who silo. Like I see other people who silo, and that's like they've got like kind of not just kind of like what seems like a beautiful idyllic life, okay, like on Maui or something, like
Hmm.
everything is peace and bliss. And I have moments where I'm like, why did I sign up for that role?
Well,
Because
yeah. Are you enjoying it?
I do enjoy this role. I do, and then I don't. I don't enjoy it all the time. I mean, I enjoy it because it feels very fulfilling when I'm able to self master like the next piece, and I'm able to bring people to another level of understanding, and I can see the ripple effect, and I see the piece happening. I'm like, oh, this is great, and then I'm excited because it's working. And then when it's not, and I'm like, oh man, why am I here? And then I have those questions again. So I'm not, I'm still refining, like, how do I be in the world and not of the world, and guide
Mm-hmm.
without, and be ready for people and hold that space within me. And I know that everything that's happened to me up until now has been for healing this,
Yes. Yes.
because, all the early childhood stuff and the stuff with my mom has all prepared me for exactly this.
Yeah. And I
So
just, again, have so much respect for you and compassion for you, because I read about bodhisattvas years ago and I was like, hell no. I'm
I
not
was like,
signing up. I was like,
why did I
no.
say,
If I ever said that in any past
please?
life, we're going to do an addendum to the contract. I'll be on the other side of
It's
the
like
veil.
herding cats, It's
It's
like
worse than
herding.
that.
It's worse than that. It's like cats that are backed into a corner screeching and trying to bite you, like.
Yeah, so I mean, you could make an addendum. You could create a different contract. You can, whatever brings you joy,
I
whatever.
might need a break, I might have to have a
Yeah, maybe
lifetime where
take a
I
little
just have like
vacation.
a bliss break. I just
Yeah,
have one blissful
yeah,
lifetime.
I've decided just to let my life be the living example of beauty and joy and grace and ease. And I'm living an idyllic life on Maui, except for it's in Idaho. I have my horses. It's peaceful. I'm in
I love
Idaho.
your horses. The pictures of you with your horses are so gorgeous.
I love my pictures of I love being with them. I can't believe these guys get to be my friends. So I found, as I surrendered my attachment or my contract to rescuing humans, I manifested these horses, and one horse was a rescue. Maybe all of them were in their own way. But the peace I find, feel, and experience when I'm with him, it's literally like heaven on earth. I used to have dreams of riding horses on a beach, galloping, and just this freedom. And now I'm actually getting to do that in my human life. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful I surrendered all the things that weren't that much fun for me to get to this place and space of heaven on earth. And I feel like I'm not really participating in the reality of duality so much. Obviously, I know that's what's going on, but I feel like I'm above the fray in a lot of the ways. And I'm trying to bring the principles of unity to this insanity and just be the presence of love in a very quiet, sparkly, joyful way. And that's how I want to roll this time for now. I mean, maybe things will change down the line. I don't know. But it's working for me for now. It's been an experiment that I put into play several years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of like this. I think we're just going to do this, because I had big ambitions to be way out there. You know, I have friends that are in the entertainment industry, and I did some acting and was, you know, on People magazine, blah, 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 when I was with my ex-fiance. I wanted to be famous and I wanted to get to the masses. And then I just found it wasn't very effective and it wasn't much fun, and I was tired. So
Yeah,
tired.
well, I fear you on the tired part, because the you know the more I feel, the more I'm like staying connected, right? In order to feel and know how best I can serve, the more I'm feeling. And the more I'm feeling and seeing and witnessing all the different
Yes.
things that are going on, and I'm like, okay, now I'm like digesting that, and now I'm going, okay, how can I
Oh, yeah, it's a
bring,
lot.
how can I guide this or influence this in a way that will move the energy in a more beneficial way? How can I
Right.
guide that energy?
Right.
So
Again,
that, yeah,
noble. I
so
again,
much
so
work,
much respect. Well, and this is what happened with me 6 years
exhausting.
ago. I got in a really bad car wreck, and I thought I was in this upward trajectory to really be getting my work out there. I was working with women in prison and people in prison. I was in LA. I was doing a lot of stuff. I was doing a lot of good work, quote unquote, good work. I was doing a lot of grief counseling. I was working really hard. I was very proud of myself. And then I got in this car wreck, and I felt like it was a brick wall. It was the last big brick wall that hit me. I felt like I was being yanked back on the choke chain, and God said, sit down. We're going to talk about this. And it took me a while to decipher what happened and why, because I was doing such good work. But somewhere along the way, I'd forgot to commit to spirit. It's like I was jumping out of bed and I was working and I was doing, and I was, I was trying to be very effective in the world. And then this happened. And I realized I was trying to do God's work, but I wasn't connecting to God in a
Yeah, you got to
consistent way.
listen for the messages.
So I made a promise to commit to spirit every single morning, and I have ever since. And what I realized is I'm more of a butterfly than an elephant. As much as I would like to do the heavy lifting on planet Earth, it's not my constitution. It's not how I'm built. I have respect for the ones that can uproot the redwood trees, the ones that are on the front lines. I have great respect, and I really tried to be one of those people, but it's not my particular constitution or contract. So I started saying this prayer, and it's available, and I give it to anybody who wants it. It's a sovereignty prayer. It's God, you know my gifts, talents, propensities. You know my spiritual contracts. You know every hair on my head, and they're counted. So just now I'm going to relax and allow you to guide me on the path you would have me walk for my highest good and the highest good of all concerned, with grace, with ease, with clarity. And I rest in that. And I look for the red flags and green lights, and I look for the signposts, and I wait. I wait for God to guide me instead of trying to rely on my own understanding and doing anything, even if it seems like a good idea. I wait to be very clear within myself. Is this God guided, or is this coming from my own mind or my own ego or my own personality? And as I've done that, my life has definitely become a lot more gentle and peaceful and sweet. And I'm also being more gentle, peaceful, and sweet within myself as I continue to look up and look in. And I was like, oh, this is my rhythm. I thought I would be much more effective, but I'm just like a quiet light. And I'm so grateful now. I'm so grateful I didn't get what I thought that I wanted, because I would have been exhausted. And this is much better for me. Again, it takes a while for us to dial our own selves in. It takes a while to find our own authentic shape. But I don't think most people are even considering that or thinking about that or trying to figure out how they can do that for them in themselves, because it does take a lot of inner work, a lot of inner work. But that's the only place real change can happen. And that's how we influence change outside of ourselves.
Yeah, and it's being really respectful of everybody's journey. You
Absolutely.
know, like where they are in the
Absolutely.
moment, what their understanding is.
No judgment, complete respect.
And I've had to learn that too, because
Yeah.
I get frustrated sometimes if I see things and I've already learned that lesson, and then I'm like, "Oh no, that's not it." You know, and it's like, "Oh, wait a
Yes,
second
we can
here.
get impatient with others
Okay,
when we see
they're still
ourselves.
learning."
Mhm.
Okay, check. I came to that part of the it's like there's a I feel there is a common road and pathway that we're walking. It's just that we're seeing it from different eyes and a different lens and different bodies, and but there's
Absolutely.
common benchmarks along that road. You know, like when you get to this one you want
Absolutely.
to turn right. When you get over here,
Yeah,
then
I
you
want to
want to,
help them. I want to give them
you know,
direction.
yeah, like there are these things, and but the realizations you can't skip the steps. I love that you said that before. You cannot skip the steps. There is no bypassing it. And even like recently I realized that I was really kind of out of my body in a way, like um just very very ascended kind of in my esoteric spirituality, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And I was feeling disconnected from my human experience.
Right.
So I did something that was not advised by my guidance. Is that I always ask permission. I use my pendulum and I check things out. I'm like, okay, is this good for me or not good for me?
Hmm.
And I said, can I have some wine? And it said, no, that's not a good idea. And I asked again and I said, are you sure? Because,
I
it's
really want it.
not a good idea. And it's been like a year or something. So I said, I'm doing it. I'm disobeying that guidance because something else is calling
Right.
me forth.
Uh-huh.
So I got a bottle of wine and I had 2 glasses, not just one, two. So then the next day
Right.
I was really like low. I was low, Tammy. I was like, oh,
You
I'm really
know, you
hungover
buried
because I don't
in
drink,
the bowels.
because I just don't anymore. And my vibration was lower.
Right.
And I had like one of the little virtual coffee chats with somebody, and they kind of called me out on my low vibration and actually even challenged me that my vibration was like threatening to them somehow and they needed to protect themselves. I don't normally get that
Wow.
response from people. So
So
it
no
really
more
shocked.
wine for you? Is that what you're saying?
Well, what I'm saying is that it,
Or you check in first and you listen to your guidance?
well, what I'm saying is that I'm glad I did it, because I actually have learned some really powerful lessons from that about my own strictness with myself and my own spiritual judgment around
Hmm.
certain things and
Right.
behaviors and things like that that people engage in out there. And I had realized that I was kind of showing up that way for other people.
Oh, interesting.
You
Okay, so
know,
you got good value from that lesson.
I got so much value from it that I was like, I'm not going to do it again, but I got a lot from that. So I'm like milking all the morsels of that.
I think that's great.
I think that, this is an exploration this
It really is.
lifetime.
It's an exploration. It's an experiment. I see it like going on a shopping spree and picking a bunch of clothes out and thinking, oh, well, this will look good. This will look good. This will look good. And you try it on. It's like, not so good. And you
Not
put it
so
back.
good. You think it looks
And you
good.
keep, again, it's like either a buffet or shopping. You keep trying different things to see what works and fits for you. What's good, what's fun, what's delicious, what's enjoyable. Go back and more for that, more for that. But what I see a lot of people doing is fighting with what they don't want rather than celebrating and enjoying what they do want. It's like all these protesters, they're fighting against what they don't want instead of paying attention to what they do want. And it's valid. It's valid. And it just depends on what resonates as important to do for one's own personal consciousness. The most important thing we can do is take dominion over our personal consciousness. And I imagine I've been there where it's like, you know what, I need to speak up and I need to be an advocate and I need to do this and that. And now I'm just like witnessing it and sending compassion to all concerned, because I'm a butterfly and that's what resonates for me as the most loving thing I can do. So again, we need to take responsibility for what really resonates as personal integrity for ourselves and what is the most loving thing we can do, and let that inner wisdom be your guide. And yeah, I think it's pretty
Yeah, and
simple.
that then their energy will flow a lot better, and you'll feel more in your body, and you'll feel more connected, and then
Yes.
you'll, you'll be
You bring
aligned.
more light
And
to the world. You'll feel
yeah,
better and you'll bring more light to the world. There's a lot of benefits and bonuses to really living life from the inside out.
yeah. Well, there's a lot to do on the earth at this time, and boy, we all have our role to play, and we're all doing a part.
Yes, we
And
are.
as long as we're consciously engaged and with the intention of asking, "What's my piece today?" What am I here for?
Yes.
What would you have me do? And then doing that, I think then we're all aligned and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes. I think it really is about partnering with the divine in our own unique way. I grew up a little traumatized from religion. I'm a recovered Catholic. And I threw the baby out with the bathwater for a long time. But as I was on my knees, that saying, there's no atheists in foxholes. When I was kicked to the curb by my ex-fiance and I was broke and sick, it was like, and nobody would talk to me. No human people wanted anything to do with me. And again, I don't blame them, but God would talk and listen. And that's when we started to become better friends. And these days, I just feel my life is a cosmic love affair. God's my very, very, very best friend who wants a very, 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 very best for me. And I think that's why my life is so exquisite and beautiful and magical. And I think the most important thing we can do again is to surrender to that something greater, knowing that if this loving energy can move the planets around the sun and turn embryos into babies and turn seeds into flowers and trees, can take care of our lives. We don't have to rely on our own understanding. We can partner with that cosmic, loving, divine intelligence and start to allow our lives to be guided and directed and live this cosmic love affair. But so often I think people want to live and rely on their own mind and understanding, which is limited. It's limited. We can't possibly see things from this like higher perspective from our limited human perspective, but to trust that that higher perspective loves us, has our back, is on our side, clear anything and everything inside of us that doesn't believe that we are worthy and lovable and amazing and exquisite and vital and important and valuable. When we can clear all those layers and live from that place of just true alignment, again, I think that's how we experience relief and peace and freedom and prosperity and incredible relationships. And we are bestowed blessings that are perhaps expected and yet unexpected. So much of my life is like, I had no idea how much
Yeah, a lot of my
joy
life, I
that
had
would
no
bring
idea.
me. That was not on my conscious radar at all. But I kept surrendering, and I feel like it's like Christmas a lot. There's all these presents for me and I'm opening things. It's like, I really knew I wanted that. And I'm so excited that I received that. But then there's things I open and I'm like, I had no idea I wanted that. And as I play with it or experiment or explore, enjoy that gift, it's like the horses. I had no idea the level of fulfillment and joy it would bring me. No idea, not on my radar at all. I knew when I was 5 that I wanted a pony.
Well, 5 years ago you knew because you're
Everybody
tapped
wants a
in.
pony, right?
Yeah.
So I went horseback riding with some friends about 5 years ago, and I was like, this is the happiest I've ever been in my life. So I came back to Idaho and started taking lessons, and then I leased a horse, and then had no intention of buying one, but I saw this horse, and I was just like, that's my unicorn. He was an abused Amish cart horse. He's a whack job. So I went from rescuing people to rescuing horses. But he's one of my best friends. He's crazy, but I love him so much. It was like seeing my husband. I was like, whoa. And now I have a Frisian, which was the horse of my dreams when I saw a picture of one years ago, the long black mane and just the majestic stoic. And now I have one and I just can't believe it. And I didn't do anything to get that horse. A very distant peripheral friend had one and they started having fires in California. And she's like, I feel like it would be best to let him go. Do you want him? I'm like, and my husband's like, yes. He bought me this horse. And I was like, I didn't do anything to manifest this horse. I just stayed in my loving and my high vibration. And I think Wayne Dyer wrote a book, The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire. When we clear our issues of unworthiness, as we can expand our inner container for amazing things and can really receive graciously and in a present, peaceful way, the magic that shows up, that the majesty that can just happen without our efforting is beyond miraculous. And I am loving my life. And I want to be able to help as many people as I can get to this place if they want to. if they want to. You can't make anybody do anything they don't want to. And it's a very invitational way of living and teaching in my life right now, but it fits for me. God bless you, bodhisattvas. I'm just going to just be light. I'm just going to live light and just, I'm living heaven on earth and I love it. But again, we all have our parts to play.
We all have our parts to play.
We have our parts to play.
Don't judge your brothers and sisters. Just
no
realize
judgment.
God has a plan
Just
for every single one of us.
Respect and compassion for every
If you
single
don't like
one
your
of
plan,
God's
you can do a
creations.
little negotiation maybe. If you're like, yeah, I changed my mind.
Negotiate.
I need a break.
Yourself. It's good. You can take a vacation as an experiment and then go back to this way of being if that's what you want to do. So yeah, there's
exactly.
Play with it.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Well, beautiful wisdom you shared, and also in your book. And just for anybody who wants to see the book, Manifesting Love, check it out. There's even like a little jewel on there. It's so cool. So check that out. And anything you want to offer in terms of people for ways to get to know you. I know you have your podcast. I'll put a link to the podcast in the show notes.
Yes.
What else?
Sure.
Anything else for people
to connect with anyone and everyone that resonates with anything that I'm saying? I'm on Facebook. I'm very active on Facebook. I do Facebook Lives every Monday, Manifesting Monday or Miraculous Monday. And then my radio show, Empower Radio, Journey to Center on Empower Radio. And I'm on Instagram, not there as much, but on Facebook, if you go to Journey to Center, you can find me there. Journey to Center on Empower Radio, you can find me there. You can go to my website, Tammi B PhD at TammiBPhD.com. I have a free ebook about removing your blocks to prosperity with a guided meditation, because I think working with the subconscious realms is so important. I'm a hypnotherapist. I do a lot of prayers and guided meditations. I make those available. You can get some on my website, but if you also email me at TammiBPhD@gmail.com, I would be happy to gift you with the sovereignty prayer, which I just had mentioned a little while ago about lining up with your purpose and trusting spirit. So lots of ways to get in touch and continue the conversation. Again, my intention is just to give people tools, tips, and free guided meditations, my books, just to lift people up in a gentle, graceful, easy, joyful way so that they can come into their authentic shape and live their highest purpose and potential and joy-filled, prosperous, love-based life.
Love it. Gorgeous. So I hope you guys liked that and you got a lot out of this conversation with Tammi. I know that I have all the times I've spoken with her. We've had a great time. So I encourage you to check out those resources. And also remember that if you found this helpful, the way to make sure that it gets out there more is to take an action, which is to like, and give it a rating and share it out. That's an action you could take that would support more people in finding this work. And what else? Oh, here come kisses. So I like to give people kisses. Would you like to help me?
Yes.
Okay, here come the kisses, everybody. Mm.
Lots of love. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for everybody hanging out with us. God bless you.
Bless everybody. See you next time on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now.
Bye for now.